Well, you guys requested it time and time again, so thanks a lot for that. Hey movie fans, happy 4th of July. So I thought for the special 4th of July edition I would review a highly requested film for 5 good things that every time I ask you guys what movie would you guys like to see for our 5 good things, you give me this one, holding it off primarily because I didn't want to watch it, but I figured 4th of July, Fantastic Four, or in this case, Fan Four Stick, because this movie doesn't want to be called Fantastic Four. I'm not going to call it Fantastic Four. I'll call it Fan Four Stick. Because, you know, Fantastic Four should at least have a little bit of bright color and fun. And this is not one of those times. However, this movie does at least have 5 redeeming qualities in this movie. Does it redeem the whole thing? Oh, absolutely not. This movie is so boring. The reshoots are painfully apparent. However, enough with the negatives. We're here to focus on the 5 positives that I was able to get out of Fan Four Stick. Well, at number 5, we have Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm. I'm not saying the thing as a whole was well done. The CGI looked really shoddy at times, and he didn't wear pants, which was really just bizarre. But Jamie Bell's performance as Ben Grimm the person, and then in the early stages of his transformation, were not that bad. They were actually quite interesting. My only real gripe with him is no one's going to believe him as the muscle for Reed Richards. He's shorter and almost smaller than Reed Richards, yet he's supposed to be Reed's bodyguard and best friend? I mean, best friend I buy, but bodyguard? Really? Jamie Bell presented this everyday likable character in a film devoid of likable characters. Oh my goodness, everyone frowns the whole time. But Jamie Bell was at least likable, and when he becomes the Thing in his transformation, the CGI does not garner the emotion that you should be feeling. The CGI looks pretty bad, but you can tell in the voice work and the voice inflection that Jamie Bell really wanted to get emotion across and sympathy for this Thing character, and I was like, I want to feel something, but visually you look awful. You look so bad, but I could hear it in the voice that this actor was like trying to be emotional and be sad. He really tried his best. The actor did. Doesn't mean that the performance was the best, but that was not his fault. It was more the CGI and just the tone of this movie as a whole really missed the mark, and Ben Grimm unfortunately suffered for that, but it's not the actor's fault. He tried everything he could. At number 4, we have a specific scene. In it, Reed Richards is on the run for reasons? Nothing in this movie is really explained or done well. But he's on the run from the government agent. Do you care why he's on the run? He's on the run. And so, in this, he's kind of disguised his face because he can stretch he can stretch anything. So in doing so, he can stretch his facial muscles to look like someone else. I thought that was really clever. You could still see it a mile away of, oh yeah, that's going to be revealed to be Reed Richards. But it was kind of a clever thing of, I will disguise my face to look like someone else. That would make me the perfect fugitive if no one will be able to recognize me. But yet, while he's still in hiding, he takes that face off and goes back to his normal face. I guess it would be too tiring, but if you're on the lam, why don't you stay in the incognito mode that you already are? Then you'll never be found. This movie's just, the plot holes. But I digress. There's still some positives to get through. Calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean. I'm wearing blue because the film forgets that the Fantastic Four is supposed to wear blue. So at least one of us is wearing the Fantastic Four colors because, I don't know, reasons. This movie's breaking me. This movie's just atrocious. But I digress again. Stay on target. At number 3, we have Tim Blake Nelson as your stereotypical I work for the government, now you work for us type of role. That's really generic and cliched, but then again, so is this character in this movie. However, Tim Blake Nelson plays it incredibly well. I couldn't tell if I hated him or if I liked him, because you hated him because he's supposedly keeping down the heroes of the story, those same heroes that never smile or like to chill in dark rooms. It's just weird. But at the same time, the reason you hate him, he has completely valid reasons for what he does, and you're like, yeah, I kind of side with him more than I side with the heroes of... I like his logic more. He just portrayed it well. I've yet to see a bad Tim Blake Nelson performance. I loved him as Pendenski in Holes, and this one, he's just a really good role of that. Stick in the mud, but in the end, his logic is kind of justified if you look at the reasonings, and I just liked his performance, primarily because everyone else in this movie is so bad. So bad. Like, an average performance is just Citizen Kane in this schlock fest of... We're almost to the end, though. At number 2, we have the scene where 3 out of 4 discover their powers. Well, better yet, one character discovers 3 out of 4 powers. So, somehow, these characters got their powers. That seems really weird and not really explained well. But Reed kind of wakes up from unconsciousness to see Johnny Storm on fire, and he's terrified. It's literally just a dude on the ground burning up. It almost looks like war imagery. He's bloodied and beat up, and he sees this big hunk of rock, and he can hear Ben's voice crying out, so he's slowly crawling. He sees his foot stuck under some rubble, so he's slowly crawling, not realizing that this whole time he's stretching out like a big thing of Laffy Taffy in the heat, and he finally gets to Ben. He can't tell that Ben is the rock thing. He looks back and sees himself completely stretched out. It's a really good, like, almost quasi-horror movie scene in how it's presented of suspenseful music, the only time dark imagery actually works in this film. But it's really suspenseful, and you can feel the terror that these characters feel of, what the heck have we become? And it's a scene that really should fit in a Fantastic Four movie, and in this one circumstance, it really does. Of this whole movie is not very good, but this one scene actually does justice to the comic of, yes, these characters would be horrified, they would be afraid, they would be in sheer shock of seeing, I don't know, one become a gigantic rock thing, another become literally on fire, and the other one being stretched to like 20 feet. This one scene actually made it interesting and compelling of making something different, of having a different vibe and feel to this awful movie. Can you tell I didn't like this? But there was a positive. There was one tiny ray of hope in this whole thing, and ironically, the light comes from the torch. See what I did there? The number one best thing about Fan4stick is Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm. Now, I didn't really know how I felt when he got cast. It's more because I just didn't know his body of work. I know he did Fruitvale Station. I can't remember if that was before or after this movie. And he did Creed, but that hadn't come out yet. He wasn't the household name that he is now, and so I was like, he's an unknown actor. Plus, they all kind of are about the same age, and I'm used to Johnny being younger. That being said, this Johnny is a bit different than the comic book version, as is everything in this movie. He's more responsible, minus one car racing scene. He's the most responsible, actually, of his entire team, which is odd. I'm used to Johnny literally being the hothead, literally and figuratively being the hothead. This time he's the most responsible, minus having a couple hothead moments, but by and large, what makes him the best is he's the only actor that seems like he wants to be in this. Like the line from Nick Fury in Avengers with Loki, why do I get the feeling he's the only one that wants to be on this boat? That's exactly how I feel with Michael B. Jordan. He's the only one that got the memo of, hey, you're in a superhero movie, have fun. It's like everyone else, you know how you can take saturation in a picture or a video and desaturize it? It's like to desaturize the humor and fun of the Fantastic Four franchise with these actors. They're just like, hey, you look like you have fun and energy. We're going to take that away like you've been in the heat for 8 hours and then you came to filming. Everyone looks so bored and unhappy to be there except for Michael B. Jordan, who's just like smarmy and sarcastic and has some of the best lines. He smiles, because that's hard to do apparently. He actually was the only one that seemed like he was trying, had fun, and at the end of the day, of the 4 Fantastic Four members, he's the only one that actually wants to help people. He's like, I was given these powers for a reason, and I want to help people. Everyone else is like, we need to figure out how to be cured, and Johnny's like, no, I want to help people. I've been given these powers for a reason, more than likely. Which I'm like, yay, you're a hero. I like you for that. In a movie devoid of really boring characters, Michael B. Jordan's the only one actually trying. He's got some humor, some of it lands, some of it doesn't. He's the only one that's trying. And in this movie, that goes a long way. I was thoroughly entertained by his role, and I really like seeing him in other things now. And thank goodness he gets another shot as Killmonger in Black Panther. You get to try again in a Marvel movie. This time, they'll actually try along with you. Well, what do you guys think about Fan 4-Sick? Have you seen it? Have you not? Are you scared away by how many times I said I hated it? Well, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you're seeing and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!